So one of the most important things for characterization is, of course, Stanislavski's method. And that's a name you're going to become very, very familiar with over the next 2 years of your study in drama. There's plenty of places, if you type Stanislavski method into Google, you're going to come up with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of options. And they all pretty much say the same thing. And really the detail is minute. Excuse me. If you look at what's here, there's not much going on in terms of a big, huge essay on Stanislavski, which you can go to. You can go to Wikipedia and then find all the essays on him and his value and importance in terms of the theatrical ideal from the 20th century. But really all you need to know are these kind of questions that you can see there. Who am I? Where am I? What time is it? What do I want? Why do I want it? How will I get it? What must I overcome to get what I want? Now, these are what we refer to as given circumstances. And these things here, what must I overcome, are known as obstacles. And really, all it is working out the character's focus, what a character actually desires. And of course, there's a multiple level of desire for a character, and it changes according to scene, and it changes according to interaction with other characters. This is a pretty straightforward thing to think about, but it is a very important one when you are building a character for a major work, for your own monologue. You don't just work out how to memorize the lines. That is a secondary thing. What really comes first is the measured response to the language. You need to work out what's going on behind what's being said. So a good way of doing that is to figure out what's going on for other characters of which you may be familiar. Here we have, for instance, Othello. Now, if you don't know Othello at all, if you haven't come across him, he is an outsider. As you can see, he's based on the idea of having an African heritage, but he lives in Venice, in a very European city of Shakespeare's time or even prior to that. And so he is an eternal outsider. He is someone who is up against it from the get-go. And I would suggest to you that the performance of Othello going on here from Lawrence Fishburne is making that clear through his eyes and the way in which his brow is furrowed and so forth. There is a seriousness to him. There is, but there's an inescapable fear behind those eyes that he is stoic. And the reason why he's stoic is because of his personal given circumstances. And therefore he's easily manipulated because he is weakened by that position, the racial one, in that circumstance. Here we have Miss Havisham. Now, Miss Havisham's from Great Expectations, Charles Dickens. And Miss Havisham, as you can see there, she is in a wedding dress. And that image of her in a wedding dress is quite well known. She's a woman who was jilted at the altar and maintains that horror of that moment by wearing that wedding dress in an ever-decaying wedding feast. And so really, you've got this almost symbol of a ghost, a living ghost, one who is... person is still alive, but they're living in this eternal sort of terror. And her job is to therefore break the hearts, or manage to manipulate a woman or a girl to break the hearts of any man in the future as a recompense for her broken heart. But you can see there's a kind of madness to her. So the madness comes through in the costume as is being portrayed, as much as in the face and the way in which this character behaves and moves. It is not entirely naturalistic, it's more expressionistic in this sense. And so knowing her background gives insight into the performance. Here you have Rue and Barney from Summer of the 17th Doll. And their circumstances, of course, are very specific to the Australian concept and ideal. Hence, you've got the two men sharing a beer drinking, and mateship as one of the key phrases. But here you've got a very interesting little sort of divide. You can see this V here between the two men. You've got Barney here crossing over and pouring a beer for Rue, and Rue hiding behind his arm, suggestive of the fact that this relationship is a broken one or is breaking at this point. There is a disconnect, and that is being played out in Rue's gesture. So not only is it a management of the way in which you vocally work your character, it is everything from gesture to movement to space and all those other elements that drive a great performance. Here you have Gillian Anderson playing Blanche Dubois from A Streetcar Named Desire. And you can see here a very, very, very broken character. The alcohol bottle is synonymous with this character. The clothing, which is meant to represent something beautiful, but ends up being quite damaging to the self that she's wearing, the little tiara there, suggestive of the fact that she has this illusion of the self, but the truth of the self is in the face. The truth of the self is there. She is someone who's hidden in the dark all her life, or a recent life, to hide her age. She still believes she's young and beautiful and attractive, and yet when you see the full self, it's a broken self, and so hence the absolute agony in this face here as she is being manipulated into madness. So essentially, when you think about all these questions, who am I? Start with basics. Where am I? What time is it? What do I want? By the time you get to number 4, that's the bit that really matters. What do you want and why do you want it? They are big, big calls that you need to be able to make. The way in which your character moves and gestures to get what they want is important. You can see here they refer to it as tactics. And you have to employ that on stage. You have to show that you are working through those tactical responses. And then, of course, knowing what your obstacles are as a character, knowing what is in your way. And those things need to be listed firstly in your logbook for your major work, but also discussed with me once you have come up with your monologue.